Badass of the Week is produced by High Five Content and $7 Productions. London, England, just after midnight on the 5th of November, 1605. The air in the dusty cellar beneath the House of Lords is thick with the damp chill of stone and the acrid smell of 36 barrels of black powder. Guy Fawkes is calm. His hands, though calloused from years of soldiering, remain steady. Tonight, he is the architect of a violent, definitive new world, positioned to vaporize the entire English government, king, parliament, and all, with one flash. The moment is close. The fuse is ready. And his lamp is the only meager light in this tomb of stone, casting frantic shadows as he awaits the dawn. Every breath is a whisper. Every drip of water, a clock counting down to a world-shattering explosion. But tonight, the silence is broken. Not by a thunderous explosion, but by the faint, growing sound of measured boots on the wooden stairs. Too many boots, and they are coming down. Suddenly, the heavy wooden door is violently kicked open, followed by the clatter of steel and a guttural shouted command. There he is! Seize him! A rapid, desperate scramble ensues, followed by a single shout of defiance from Guy Fawkes. He lunges for the fuse, hoping to change England forever. But he never gets the chance. Hello, and welcome back to Badass of the Week. My name is Ben Thompson, and this is the show where we tell the badass history of badasses. I am telling a bit of an odd story today, but I have hopefully a bit of an odd person on to help me tell the story. We are joined today by podcaster, producer, writer, the host of That Was Genius, the successful podcast That Was Genius. We are joined today by Sam Datta. Sam, thank you so much for being on the show. It's really awesome having you here.
My pleasure. What an introduction. From across the pond.
Yes.
I'm weird already.
Yes.
I've said nothing that's going to make the air yet.
Great. Perfect. Well, we are doing a little bit of a weird one today. So I usually am telling the stories of great badasses of history who are just kind of smashing and destroying their way through all opposition. And today we're going to talk about kind of a weird subject. And it's a little outside my wheelhouse. I don't know if it's the sort of thing you usually cover as well or not, Sam.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to spoiler alert too much, but yeah, I mean, failure is great. History is built on failure.
Exactly. Spoiler alert, Parliament does not get blown up in 1605. So today we are going to talk about one of the weirdest stories I can think of. We have like I said, it's a little outside the traditional badass. This is a religious fanatic who tried to blow up his king and incinerate the elected government of his homeland. And then he failed miserably. He's executed as a traitor. And now today, 4 centuries after his death, people in England still have a big party in his honor where they light puppets of him on fire and wear masks with his face on him. They shoot off fireworks. Is this just British people being delightfully eccentric, Sam? I need your professional opinion.
Yes. Yeah. So it's Bonfire Night it's a very strange thing in that there's 3 things. If you ask a British person to tell you 3 fun facts about British history or British culture, they will say, divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived. The wives of Henry VIII. Which is tangentially related to this. Then they'll say, remember the 5th of November, gunpowder, treason and plot. They always forget the second half of the poem, which is, I see no reason the gunpowder treason should ever be forgot. Weirdly, they forget that bit. But that first bit,
that's
ironic. And then a swan can break a 5-year-old's arm is usually the third thing they'll come up with, which is a fact that every British person just repeats to each other ad infinitum. We repeat that like we're talking about the weather. And it's actually not true, but we love saying it. But Bonfire Night is a massive, massive part of British consciousness. And it's very confusing for us because no Brit will be able to tell you whether we're celebrating Guy Fawkes or condemning Guy Fawkes. No one can tell you whether he's a good guy or a bad guy, really. If you ask for any kind of moral judgment, it's just like, well, he did try and blow up Parliament. Shrug. Make your own judgment. Yes, like, who are we to judge? And then there's... And the tradition of it is, the tradition of Bonfire Night, of Guy Fawkes Night, is that it started off as a legally mandated holiday where everyone had to go out and celebrate the failure of the plot. That lasted like 230 odd years. It was mandatory to celebrate the failure of the gunpowder plot, and that finished in like the 1850s, I think. It was an anti-Catholic holiday until the 1950s, which is pretty nuts. And for about 100 years, it got banned, and actually eventually the reason that it no longer became mandatory was because in fine British tradition it became an excuse for a massive display of public drunkenness.
Oh, excellent.
And gang violence. And
fantastic.
So for a good 100 years it was just an annual riot and people were afraid to leave their houses because of the public drunkenness in the streets. But now it's just a chance to go out and see some nice fireworks, and there's a little public drunkenness but not too much.
Okay, so it's kind of coming around.
Yeah, it's
I know. Do they still light? They used to light puppets of him on fire. Do they still do that? Burn effigies of like your exes or whatever.
Yes. Yeah. So not to get too political, but political figureheads occasionally feature. Sometimes it's just there's usually just a straw guy on the fire now, if anything. But there are certain parts of the country where, depending on the political bent of that side of the country, various political figures from home and abroad will be burnt. I won't go further than that. But yeah, we still burn effigies of people we don't like.
Great.
Because why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you just recreate Wicker Man?
Right, exactly.
And your local village green once a year.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's a little confusing looking outside in at it. Like, is this guy a traitor, psychopath? Is he an anarchist anti-hero? I heard a thing that like the reason we call people, like the reason we say like, hey, you guys, is because of Guy Fawkes.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because he didn't actually go by the name Guy. He went by Guido for most of his life.
Yeah, but Guido's really hard to say, and we have a lot of strange accents. So
yes.
But no, so yeah, Guy originally, and I'm not entirely sure why particularly Guy or Guido became the figurehead. I think possibly because he was, as we'll come on to, he was kind of the one who was most publicly arrested. But yeah, kind of in the years after, kids who were begging on the street would make effigies of Guy, and they would kind of collect clothes from people and stuff him with straw. And so because Guy became a kind of a synonym or a kind of a local word for someone who was dressed strangely and looked a bit scruffy. So kind of a vagrant or a hobo type figure. And then eventually Excellent. It just became anyone you didn't really like, anyone who's a bit of an outcast. And eventually in the British way that we rib our friends horribly and say the most unpleasant, outrageous things to each other in a show of absolute love, guys just became friends.
Great.
So now, hey, you guys, is that's how the etymology evolved.
Cool, because when I use that to say like, hey guys, thanks for listening to this episode, please like and subscribe, I am referring to all the scrubby all the scrubby people listening to my show.
Scrubby hobos made out of rotten straw, animal dung, and cast off clothes from your neighbors. Yeah.
Great. That's what I'm trying to put out into the world. Okay, so
we love
yeah. I guess we are all kind of able to relate to people who get annoyed with politics and want to blow up the government from time to time. So there is something interesting about Guy Fawkes, and we're not going to, I guess I should come out right now and say that we don't support acts of extreme political terrorism, but the story is so weird and interesting that I think we can call it badass, which is what I think we're going to try to do today. We're going to try to make an argument for it.
Definitely.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick break for an ad, and when we come back, we're going to remember the 5th of November and talk about possibly the most spectacular failure in British government, one of the most spectacular failures in the history of British government.
I don't know, Ben. Don't get me started on that.
You said don't get political, but this episode is about blowing up the government, man. We got to get... Okay, we'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Badass of the Week. We are here with Sam Datta, and we are talking about Guy Fawkes. So Guy Fawkes is born in York in 1570, which is the same year that Queen Elizabeth I is excommunicated by the Pope for doing a lot of violence and arresting Catholics for not being mean enough to the Dutch. So when she becomes queen, she passes a bunch of laws that make it basically, not necessarily illegal to be Catholic, but keep it to yourself, kind of. And you had mentioned, Sam, that this was kind of an anti-Catholic holiday, and this is something that's going to be this kind of Queen Elizabeth being a Protestant queen, taking over and putting in Protestant laws. This is going to be a major theme to the story.
So this kind of 100, well, not even hundreds, kind of 75-ish years between Henry VIII wanting to divorce his first wife and therefore thinking, I'll start a new church, one that allows divorce and lets me marry whoever I want, and where I'm the king of the church and really close to God. This sounds great. What could possibly go wrong? The kind of the 75 years between that in 1534 and the gunpowder plot in 1605, it was a really bad time to be religious, but it was also legally mandated that you were religious. So you had Henry VIII was Catholic, and then Church of England, which is different from Lutheranism and Protestantism and Puritanism, all these different isms that were floating around at the time. Really, he just wanted to have his own way. The Catholics
were kind of very similar. You wear different funny hats.
Exactly that. Yeah, different funny hats. There were probably some taxes if you were on the wrong side of the law, but Henry VIII was born a Catholic. He didn't really know anything else. I mean, I'm not a theologian, so I will get ripped to shreds for saying that. But there he was, and then he died, and King Edward ruled for a little bit. He doesn't really count. He was too young. And then Mary the First, Bloody Mary, came in. She was a devout Catholic, his daughter. Mm-hmm. She burnt a lot of Protestants at the stake. I think 300-400 Protestants were burned at the stake for being Protestants. Which is a really tough gig since all that had happened to change in your life was one king had got divorced and then died, and now you're being burnt at the stake just for following the rules. But you didn't get the newsletter that week.
You're like,
newsletter.
Wait, I thought we were supposed to. What's going on with this?
This is the 16th century. Life is not always fair.
You would never want to go back in time. You would never want to go back in history.
Exactly, and the burning of Protestants at the stake was what eventually influenced the bonfires for Bonfire Night, for Guy Fawkes Night. That's why the effigies are burnt on top of a bonfire. And then Elizabeth came in. She was Protestant again, but again it was kind of almost like don't ask, don't tell kind of thing. You can be secretly Catholic, but just don't be too close to the King of Spain. Don't write letters to the Pope, that kind of thing. And there was a lot of flip-flopping going on. And then we're back. Then we are where we are.
Right, exactly. So this is one of those things, Jesus might have said, blessed are the peacemakers, but he obviously wasn't talking about, killing somebody who wronged your family 6 generations ago.
Not those peacemakers, the other peacemakers, the right peacemakers.
Right, our peacemakers that make peace by destroying our enemy.
Not the ones who speak Latin.
So Fawkes, like you were talking, like, you had to be Catholic, and then for Henry, you had to be Anglican, and then you had to switch back, and you kind of had to be jumping around. But you had to really believe it also. You just very seriously believe these things and then change your mind occasionally, depending on who was in charge. So Fawkes actually kind of does this.
I mean, I will say there were exceptions though, right? You could still be Catholic under one of the Protestant kings and queens, but you just had to pay the taxes. Right. Because if there's one thing that's more important than piety, it's money.
Yes.
So, you pay taxes.
Yeah, you can always just buy piety.
Yeah. I think it was like a £20 a year tax for not going to the right church, which today is like tens of thousands of dollars, enough to bankrupt a family. But yeah, you could just pay you out of trouble. Anyway, sorry, I'm interrupting.
No, this is all good. This is all good insight. So this is kind of the world that Guy Fawkes is growing up in. And so he's born Protestant, but he converts to Catholicism as a teenager. He had a Catholic stepdad that he really liked and converted for him, which, like you said, it's not a good time to be religious, but like this guy converted into a religion that was more or less illegal in his country. So Catholics at this time, they couldn't go to mass, they couldn't get married in the church, they couldn't join the army, they couldn't become lawyers or vote, and there was this big tax that you were talking about. So there's some hope that when Elizabeth I dies in 1604, this is going to change because, whatever, we'll just wait until there's the next ruler will maybe change their mind. And they had James I coming in from Scotland, who was from kind of a Catholic area. And there was some hope that maybe things would change, but no, that didn't work out. He referred to Catholicism as a devilish superstition and kept all the laws on the books and started collecting more fines and taxes. So, like you said, they have three options. You can convert, you can keep quiet, or you can pay up. And this does not work out for Guy Fawkes very well. All right. So Guy, he's got some options. And one of his options at this time is to just get out. He just leaves England. Like, I'm out of here. I got to go. He goes across the channel and finds something that he really loves, finds a real passion beyond Catholicism, and that is fighting against the Dutch.
Like gold member.
Right, yes.
Powers 2. Is that a niche enough reference in a history podcast?
No, I like it. It's why you're here. Okay, so we can all relate to wanting to fight the Dutch, which is what he does. He's a mercenary and he fights for the King of Spain, who's Catholic. He's kind of the head of the Catholic world at this time, as the King of Spain. Spain is kind of at the height of their New World empire, very rich. They're working to kind of spread Catholicism, and they're an enemy of England. But Guy Fawkes is fighting for them against the Dutch. He's a mercenary and he's fighting a rebellion in the Netherlands by the Protestants. The Dutch are fighting on the Protestant side. He's fighting with the Catholics, and he is, by all accounts, a very successful soldier. He's cited for bravery. He's good with this is this weird time period of fighting where you have guys with heavy armor and pikes, but they also have guns, but the guns are really crappy, so they don't work for very far away. You've got guys on horses. It's just kind of a mix of everything. You've got some medieval stuff, you've got some modern stuff. It's kind of a mess, but he's excelling.
Chuck it all in, yeah, absolutely.
Pike and shot is one of those things you never really see. That nobody even tries to recreate that in movies because it's too weird, I think.
Yeah, it's. I can't imagine a scarier time to be a soldier. That whole kind of period of, from gunpowder being invented to people realizing that just lining up in a row was not a good way to live is a terrible time to be a soldier, and it lasted a long time, right? I mean, from the 13th century up until the American Civil War, people still thought that lining up in a big row and just shooting at each other was the best way to win a battle, and the people who got less scared won. The people who ran away less were the ones who stood a greater chance of survival. And the only thing that was in your favor was that the guns were so crappy that there was a pretty good chance that even in a line 2,000 men long, they would miss you.
Yes, I do these talks at school. So I have a book for middle school, high school age kids on the Civil War. And so I'll show a picture of, one of a Civil War reenactment, Battle of Gettysburg or something. You have the big firing line of dudes with rifles. And I'm I'll show that picture and I'll be like, if this looks dumb to you, that's because it was. Because the guns at this time are very accurate, and anybody who attacked in the Civil War lost because the other guys would just hide behind something and shoot them, and they would all die before they got to the lines. Unless you were willing to throw just wave after wave of people at this problem. This was not an effective way of fighting. Slightly more so at this time, but there is still, there's still guns, because the guns, they don't work if it rains. They don't work if you drop them. These are those weird wheel locks where you have to light a fuse and attach it to the thing. And you've got to rest for your gun because it weighs 87 pounds. You can't lift it. But Guy Fawkes is doing this and he's pretty good at it. Gunpowder is becoming more of a thing that is used in battle. and he becomes known as a bit of a demolitions expert. He wins some awards and for bravery. He's fighting for the Spanish, so they start calling him Guido or Guido, and I don't really know what the significance of that is, but I like it. So he gets promoted to captain, which is pretty high up, considering that he came in from nothing, and this is the time period where you could just buy an officer's commission if you were rich enough. So it says something about him that he was able to kind of rise up through the ranks. He fights in several battles against the Dutch. And he, at one point, I guess he becomes so well known as a soldier that he's able to get an audience with the King of Spain in 1604, or at least an emissary of the King of Spain. And Guy Fawkes' request to that emissary was Spain should attack England and depose James I and put a Catholic on the throne of England, which... I like the guts, right? I like your moxie.
Yeah, I mean, you start the bidding high. There's a bit of to and fro. What you might get is, you might get 2 boats, 30, 40 men, foment a bit of revolt. But if you don't ask, you don't get.
Right. You gotta negotiate from you get some negotiation.
Going
works.
high.
Your Highness,
position of power. Yeah,
we need to depose the King of Spain. I'll help. I'll foment a revolution in the countryside. I've got some friends. Okay, well, Captain, it's an interesting proposition. Haven't considered it before.
I mean, it's kind of worth noting, though. I mean, you said that he came from nothing, and he did. He was middle class, I think, by background. Guy Fawkes. But people tend to think of Guy Fawkes as being this kind of humble, everyman revolutionary. The kind of the man on the street giving 2 fingers to power. And actually, he kind of wasn't. There was a bit of popularism there, and as with a lot of the other members of the Gunpowder Plot, actually, he was a fairly wealthy guy with friends in positions of great power. So he had friends in high places. He wasn't the man on the street. He was, he was well read. He was fairly well educated. He was a bruiser. He rose up the ranks through sheer courage and skill. And, as you say, guns at the time were pretty poor. He had a reputation as a demolitions expert. That takes bravery and stupidity, and I imagine probably quite a lot of rum.
Yes.
And but he was well established. He was not just some plucky upstart from the street who thought he wanted to change the world. But the king said no.
Right.
The king said no.
He's able to talk to the king, right? So that's good. And he does get, you said he has powerful friends, and he's kind of he's a convert, which is, I feel like, sometimes even more fiery than people who are born into a religion. And he, word is kind of getting around that he's interested in overthrowing the king. And there's a group of powerful Catholic business owners, merchants, people in power in England who are paying this tax, and it's bankrupting them. They're getting crushed by it. So they are kind of working on a plot. And at some point, while he's still on the continent, Guy Fawkes gets a letter that offering him, saying, like, come to London. We've got a plan. We're going to overthrow the king. We're going to we need a demolitions guy on our Ocean's 11 team. So what are you up to? You want to come out here and do some damage?
Hop in, bestie.
Yes. We're going to overthrow the government. Let's go. Okay. So he does. He comes back to London. He meets up with this shadowy group of conspirators at a tavern called the Duck and Drake Inn, which I only think of as like a D&D bar, like with a half-orc behind the counter or something.
That's such a good pub name, isn't it?
It's great. It's great.
That's very spit and sawdust. That's a good pub for plotting.
Yes. Duck and Drake. Yep. There's a secret room in the back. You lift up a wooden floorboard, and you go down the stairs into this little basement. You light a candle. You talk about overthrowing the government.
Yeah. There's a pub where you don't ask what's in the pies.
Yes. Dude keeps wiping down the counter with that same dirty rag, sticks it in the mug before he pours you some mail,
Use it to wipe the blood off the floor, yeah.
Right, everything kind of tastes like copper.
Exactly, yeah.
So, okay. So he meets up with these guys. They're led by a guy named Robert Catesby, and he'd lost his entire fortune because he didn't want to stop being Catholic. Okay, so he's decided that him and his co-conspirators decide that the only way to save Catholicism in England is to commit an act of violence that is so spectacular that it completely annihilates the entire Protestant government. And that would spark a Catholic uprising, and that's going to fix everything. I'm not going to have to pay any more taxes, and God will love me. So, okay, that's the plan. They are going to have the state opening of Parliament, which is where the entirety of the British government comes together, and the king himself is there, and they do, I think it's basically like the State of the Union is my understanding of this.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Okay, and so they're going to blow up the government all at the same time. They're going to wait till everybody's together, and then they're just going to get so much gunpowder, it's going to dent the moon, and they're going to stick it underneath Parliament, and they're going to blow it up. And I always picture Big Ben being involved in this, but it hadn't been built yet, I learned when I was researching this.
It's a shame, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, really, like, I think in the movie version, you'd have to include it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's like giving Vikings horns on their helmets. It's just not, the visual vibe isn't there if Big Ben's not there.
Yeah, how are we going to know it's London?
Exactly.
You got to put the I and you got to put Big Ben there,
yeah.
Right?
A double-decker bus passing by.
It was the largest Ferris wheel of the 17th century. Okay, so the plan now is to get underneath the House of Lords, blow it into the stratosphere, kill everybody, kidnap the 9-year-old princess, and then arrange a marriage between her and some Catholic prince so that they can kind of take over as Catholic king and queen, because I love that, you know, we have to have, well, who's going to be the king if we lose the king? We need somebody, right?
It's kind of, it just struck me as you were saying that's very much kind of a reverse Star Wars storyline, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Big explosion comes first. Then the princess gets captured. Then she gets married off to the handsome stranger and restores peace to the galaxy. Is that reverse Star Wars or just starting hot? I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I like that.
Edit that out.
If you're going to blow up the Death Star, you need a professional. And that's what Guy Fawkes is brought in for. They're like, okay, so that's the plan. Unfortunately, we don't know anything about explosives. So what do you got? What do you got for us? And yeah, he's just like, yeah, hold my beer. I'm going to show you something. So, okay. So they start to put the plot into effect. They need to get, I mean, this is easier said than done. Let's blow up the government. They have to get a massive amount of ordnance underneath the House of Lords, which is probably less well defended than it is today, but probably still very well defended in 1605. So the first thing they were going to try to do was dig a tunnel under the building and plant the gunpowder there, which didn't work out because the ground was too thick for them to dig effectively. They don't have like excavators and stuff. They're trying to do it in secret without being detected. The work's going slow. Turns out these are all wealthy landowners who don't know anything about digging anyway. So the tunnel plan does not work out.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think it would have been spotted a bit too quickly if they just brought in all the laborers from their estate. You were there.
Right.
You boy. Come dig.
There's that thing too, right? The more people you bring into the conspiracy, the harder it is to keep it a secret. I think Ben Franklin once said 3 can keep a secret if 2 are dead.
Yes. Yeah, very, very much, very much so.
No, it's just under construction. Set out some orange cones.
Yeah. What's the sound of tunneling, swearing, and sweating? You got to put a planning application outside. Put up a notice board saying digging here. Yeah, you got to.
Yeah, we're putting in another apartment complex. Got to dig the garage for it. Okay, so Guy Fawkes has an idea though. So he goes and rents a house near Parliament. There is just one there just happened to be a cellar apartment for rent, like garden level, and right on prime real estate. So he rents that place, and then he just stuffs the cellar with as much gunpowder as he can roll down the stairs over the course of just weeks, I think.
So yeah, I mean, what's really interesting, I kind of glimpse into Britain at the time here, which is I find really interesting and is quite funny as well, is that Parliament was not. You think of seats of government as being these kind of big, grand buildings with big lawns around them and barbed wire fences and, you shall not pass. Actually, at the time, the House of Lords, the seat of power in Britain beyond the king, was just kind of a big room surrounded by what remained of a palace that was still officially a palace, but due to corruption, bits of it was sort of sublet out to merchants and traders. There were a couple of cafes in there. There was some kind of like food stalls set up. There were a couple of pubs. No one really questioned it. It was all inside the walls of the palace. So the security was really lax. And this building that they'd rented was the cellar of this. You think of the cellar as being kind of a fairly small space. You might have room for a pool table and a dartboard. This was a cellar that was essentially ran the entire length of the House of Lords. It was like 70 feet long, 30 feet wide, 15 feet high. This was like a basketball court. This was not a small space. You could fit a lot of gunpowder in there. And there was just floorboards above. Like, if anyone had been in there, you'd have been able to hear the barrels of gunpowder being rolled into place and just thought, that's just Bob. It's just Bob next door. It's just...
Yeah, Guido, I don't know. He moved in like 2 weeks ago. I think he's got bowling alley down there or something.
Nice guy, quiet. It's just it's a bit quiet. Doesn't really talk to anyone. Seems nice enough.
He always gets grumpy when we ask him about politics.
He's stuck up no smoking signs everywhere. Can't think why.
No, you have to do what's the thing with like the people who actually end up getting arrested for this sort of thing? Like, guys, he seemed like a nice guy, real quiet.
Like a nice guy. Yeah, kept himself to himself.
Yeah, so he rolls 36 kegs of gunpowder into this space, which just visually must have been very impressive because these are not these are like wine barrels of gunpowder, basically.
Yeah. I think questions would have been asked.
Yeah, you'd think somebody would have been like, "What's that?" Oh, wine, I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah, he rolls. I mean, him and his guys, they are able to haul 36 kegs of gunpowder. Where do they get it? How do they move it? How do they transport it? How do they sneak it in there in front of the British government? I mean, like you said, it's not like it is today with the security cameras and stuff, but presumably there's a guy in a red coat with a weapon standing somewhere around.
Yeah, just whistling.
Yeah. No, I'll bring some of that wine up for you. Just let me roll this past you. Can you move for a sec?
The thing is, the British government controlled the manufacture and sale of all the gunpowder in the country at that time. So they must have got it from either some corrupt source or shipped it in from the Spanish army across the Channel and then somehow got it to London. Who knows? I mean, the theory is that it was pretty poor quality gunpowder that they rolled in, that it was damp, it was military surplus. Actually, if you tried to shoot it out of a cannon or a gun, it would have just gone and nothing would have happened. It would have been a bit of a damp squib. But they did an experiment. About 10 years ago, they recreated the House of Lords as it was at the time, like with concrete foundations and everything. And I think they put like a ton of really poor quality gunpowder in and blew it up and confirmed that if this stuff had gone off, it would still explode. Like the crash dummy that was representing King James sat on the throne, his head ended up, I think, 200 meters, 200 yards from the explosion site. So it still have gone off. But yeah, it was
I have
poor
to find
quality
this video.
gunpowder. Yeah. It was off the back of a lorry gunpowder.
Amazing. Okay, great. So it would have worked. That's important.
Oh yeah.
It seems like it might have 36 barrels of gunpowder. You only need like a couple of them to actually ignite for it to be a problem. Somebody's going to get hurt.
Yeah.
So, okay. And then Guy Fawkes' job is not just to arrange this in a way that's going to blow up to send King James's head 200 meters in a different direction. He's also there to guard it. So he's living down there in what is probably not very awesome conditions, surrounded by explosives, underneath the House of Lords. And if any of those guards did happen to stumble down there, that was going to look really bad for him. But he's down there for weeks. So, okay, he's literally like sleeping on what is basically a time bomb. And his plan is to set it off himself and die in the process. So, okay, the plan is everything's going to go off on the 5th of November, 1605. That's when this big event's going to happen. And at the right time, he's going to light the match and we're going to have a Tom Clancy novel on our hands. But as we kind of said, and we kind of alluded to earlier, there is this is a large conspiracy, and the more people are involved, the harder it is to keep a secret. And at some point, some guy is like, maybe this isn't a great idea. Maybe we're the bad guys. So what happened was one of the plotters, a guy named Francis Tesem, he writes a letter to his brother-in-law, the Lord Monteagle, which I love. And he's like, hey, maybe you should, brother-in-law, like, I like my sister, you're cool. Maybe you should skip the state opening this year because there's going to be a terrible blow while you're there, and I don't want you to get whacked by it.
Quote unquote, a terrible blow. Yeah.
Yes. And Lord Monteagle is like, that's alarming. This is a weird letter.
Should I be suspicious?
Yes.
What's even better, it was delivered by an anonymous man on the street. You can't see, the audience can't see, but I'm doing air quotes here. It was delivered by an anonymous man on the street with a wink and a nudge to the house of this lord. And he read it and was like, oh, cool.
Okay, let's I should do something. So Monteagle takes it immediately to the Secretary of State, who immediately passes it to King James. And the king first is like, this is probably nothing. And then he starts to like think about it. And he's like, okay, maybe we should investigate all possibilities here.
Yeah. What's interesting about this is, and this goes to show how complicated the politics at the time was, the Lord Montague was a Catholic. And he was still sitting in the House of Lords, despite the fact that Catholicism was theoretically illegal. And James I, as a king, was, air quotes again, moderate. He preferred to exile Catholics rather than kill them, which is how Guy ended up crossing the border. But both he and the Secretary of State, who I think was called Lord Salisbury. Lord Salisbury was probably a Catholic, a secret one. Lord Montague was openly a Catholic. But Parliament was still full of Catholics because you just can't flip on a coin that quickly with your religion.
Right.
And so you had all these anti-Catholic laws, except for the people running the country who were they were fine. They were our kind of Catholics. And also still loyal to the king as well. So this isn't like the plotters represented all Catholics. Because the first any outside Catholics heard of it, they were like, oh, this is bad. This doesn't sound like a good idea. This sounds like it might backfire quite badly on our community.
Yeah, I mean, all Catholics in Britain at this time did not support suicide bombing acts of terrorism.
Yeah. Who'd have thunk?
Yeah. Like, maybe this was not the correct way to affect political change in your country.
Have you tried a petition?
But
a strongly worded letter will do just as well.
Yes. And so they search underneath the House of Lords. They search the area on the 4th of November. They don't find anything. King James is like, take a look, do another pass. And at around midnight, Sir Thomas Knivet is a magistrate in the area, and he goes down into the cellar where Guy Fawkes is sitting on top of a massive wood pile and then several, dozens of barrels of gunpowder. And they ask him what his name is, and he says John Johnson, which is the most suspicious thing you could possibly say.
That's a fake driving license right there, isn't it?
Right. You've had weeks to come up with a better name than that, right? You'd have weeks to come up with what would happen if you got caught. And it's extra funny because anytime you see any artwork of him, he kind of looks like a mix between like a D&D bard and Jack the Ripper. So I just picture the shadiest looking dude sitting down there with like a match sitting on a bunch of barrels of gunpowder, being like, John Johnson.
He's just whistling like, oh, hey, my fellow Protestants. What's up? Just chilling on my wood pile.
Mm-hmm. Yep, just sitting on some kindling.
Just me and my match. We're just pondering.
You guys got a light. And so they find him. They figure out what's up. It's suspicious. They go to grab him. He like, to show his conviction, he goes for it. He tries to get the match lit and tries to blow up the gunpowder. He's not going to kill any members of the House of Lords, but he's going to blow up the building and himself and everybody around him. So he does try to do that, but they catch him and they grab him, and they're dragging him away, and they ask him, like, what's up? And he says, quote, "I was attempting to blow the Scottish king and all of his Scottish lords back to Scotland."
Such a good line.
It's so good.
Whether he actually said it or not, who knows? But we'll let him have it. It was a great line.
Yes. He, he was going to blow him about 200 meters, and he's going to blow at least his head 200 meters away, which is not quite to Edinburgh, but he's going to be that general direction at least.
Probably as far as the Aberdeen Steakhouse in Leicester Square.
Right. Yeah, there you go.
As close to Scotland as a head's going to get.
Still pretty far. I'd still rather have it attached to my body.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay, even in failure, even under arrest, he insults the king to his face, and James I is, this is a bad dude who was trying to do bad things, trying to kill him, but James I is impressed by what he refers to as Fawkes's Roman resolution, which, do you have any guesses as to what that means?
Ooh.
Was he stoic like a Roman, or were like Romans just a pain in the ass? Like, I don't know what he's...
I'm guessing stoic like a Roman, but there's a part of me that thinks if you torture enough Roman Catholics, some will get a reputation for being quite stoical. So it might just have been a case of, do you know what? I have tortured a lot of you guys, and you never let anything slip. John Johnson.
Okay. So Fawkes is thrown in the Tower of London, and he is going to, they're going to see what it's going to take to break this guy. We're going to take a really quick ad break here, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the trial of Guy Fawkes and his legacy, because I think if you're following us so far, there might be some people listening to this being like, I don't understand what's badass about this. We're getting to it, I promise. We're not glorifying terrorism here. We're going to get to the good part. So stick with us. Welcome back. We are here with Sam Datta, and we are talking about Guy Fawkes. So now he's been caught red-handed, sitting on a massive amount of explosive. It's November 5th, and Guy Fawkes is sent to the Tower of London, which I've been. It's nice. I like it. It's cool. They've got really good displays there, but it was probably not a fun place to be in 1605.
Less fun, yeah. Still a royal palace though, which is weird. There was another plot. So there were quite a lot of plots by. Tell me to shut up, by the way, if this isn't interesting. We've got a time to keep to. There were quite a lot of plots by Catholics around this time. There was a plot called the Main Plot and a plot called the By Plot, which were quite well known at the time. And one of the plots, the By Plot, I think, involved two Catholic priests trying to kidnap James I and hold him prisoner in the Tower of London. Now, the Tower of London was a place where kings still lived. So it was essentially kidnapping him and then smuggling him to his own house full of his soldiers, and where he has quite a nice bedroom, and holding him there until he promised to be nicer to religious minorities. Weirdly, this was a plot that was hatched by Catholics and Puritan Protestants in conjunction with each other, which I think was a beautiful moment of crossing boundaries with a really stupid plan.
We're all going to work together to do this really dumb thing.
You stay here in this palace in luxury, surrounded by people who hate us and are loyal to you until you promise to be nice.
Yes. And then when you just promise it, we'll believe you and leave.
Exactly. Similarly to the gunpowder plot, this involved kidnapping the 9-year-old princess and marrying her off. There was a lot of that going on at the time. It's not a real plot unless you're kidnapping a child and forcing her into marriage with someone loyal to your cause.
Yes.
But now it's lovely.
Yeah, that's 1605 for you. You never want to go back in time.
1605. Ah, the good old days. But yeah, yes. Tower of London's lovely now. None of that.
Yeah, it's nice. I liked it. lots of displays of torture devices, which is going to come into effect here because the king himself specifies that Guy Fawkes should get the torture rack, and he should be tortured until he, quote, doth plainly discover his purposes and his accomplices. So they know that he didn't get those 36 barrels down there by himself. They know that this goes up from him. He's the guy that's going to take the fall for it. But there are more people involved here, and the king wants to know who they are.
The irony is, knowing who the other plotters were, this bunch of sweaty, presumably incredibly lazy, wealthy landowners, there's every chance that Guy Fawkes actually did have to wheel every one of those 36 kegs of gunpowder down there by himself over the course of several weeks, whilst the others twiddled their ruffs, stood around with powdered faces and looked important, claiming that they were helping.
Trying to pretend like they weren't conspiring against the government. Okay, so he holds out for 2 days. For the first 2 days, he's still going by that John Johnson thing. They don't give him his name. He doesn't give up his name for 2 days. He says his only regret was that he failed. And he is kind of showing a very military discipline, very committed to his cause. And he was willing to die for it. He did wheel those gunpowders down there by himself, as you said. And now he is, he holds out. And 2 days, I imagine, is a long time to be torture racked. I feel like I always think about that scene in Deadpool 2 where Cable is like talking about how all the torture he's going to do to this guy. And the dude's like, no, dude, I'll just tell you. Just, what do you want to know? I know you're going to get it out of me eventually. Just don't pull off my fingernails or do any weird stuff. I'll just tell you because I've already lost. Right? I don't care.
Let's shortcut that.
Right. Yeah.
I don't want to tell you how to have a good time, but
they're not coming to rescue you. There's no point prolonging this. So yeah, they torture rack him, and eventually they do break him, and he gives up his real name. He gives up the names of his friends, and everybody is rounded up. Most of the people involved in the gunpowder plot are captured. A few of them are killed in fights, like shootouts or sword fights, while they're being captured. And they're all kind of brought to the Tower of London, and they're given the sentence, the punishment that is the most horrible thing they could devise in Britain at the time, which is you were talking before the show, Sam, that this is not the medieval time period. This is the early modern time period, but being hanged, drawn, and quartered is a very medieval way of being killed.
Very medieval, yeah. Sometimes the old ways are the best.
Yes. So being hanged, drawn, and quartered means it doesn't sound that bad, but it's bad. So you're hanged, but not until death. You're hanged until you're choked within an inch of your life. And then while you're swinging there hanging by the noose, somebody castrates you. They cut out your tongue. They pull out your entrails while you're still alive. Then they chop off your head, finally, after you're being tortured horribly for a while. Seems
unnecessary, the chopping off the head bit at the end, doesn't it?
Well, you've got to be drawn and quartered. So they hang you, they draw out all your entrails and guts, they cut your nuts off and everything. Then they pull all your stuff out. And they're very good at this. This is like medieval medicine was not good, but they were very good at keeping you alive on the torture rack and keeping you alive while all these terrible things happen to you. No penicillin, but we can keep you alive for a pretty long time without your entrails. And so then they cut your head off. Then they cut you into 4 pieces and publicly display those pieces in prominent locations around the countryside.
Are you dead by that point, Ben?
Presumably so.
Cool. Just checking for a friend.
Your eyes are still blinking while you're hanging from a telephone pole next to your house where you grew up. Well, this sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so hang, drawn, and quartered. This is what's happening to William Wallace at the end of Braveheart.
Yes, exactly that.
So, okay. They bring him off to the gallows, and they're lining everybody up, and they've got everybody up on they do this in public, and it's like a whole thing. People come out to watch it. It's like a whole event. Bring the wife, bring the kids, pack a lunch. We're going to be here all day watching dudes get tortured to death.
It's a great day.
Stand in the front row. Maybe you can catch a testicle when they throw it into the crowd.
Fun for the whole family. Woo! Yeah.
Making signs, pom-poms. There's like songs you sing. I bet there was songs that you would sing for like.
Oh, yeah,
it's a good excuse for public drunkenness and singing.
Guy Fawkes. has no longer got balls. King James kicked them over the wall. Some good old football chants.
Exactly.
Someone's got the nut cannon. It's like a t-shirt cannon, but it just fires the severed testicles of Catholics into the crowd.
The t-shirts. I was at Guy Fawkes' hanging and quartering. 1605 World
Guts
Tour.
Pies, get your guts pies here.
Perfect. Yes. And so they show up for this. There's a huge crowd. All the conspirators are brought up that they're all going to be tortured to death publicly. But Guy Fawkes does something very impressive here, just to further demonstrate his commitment to just doing everything 100%. He breaks free from his bonds, runs and jumps off the stage and dies. I don't think the stage was that high, but he jumps off and he lands on his head and he breaks his back or breaks his spine and he dies. Which I just imagine you diving into a swimming pool without putting your hands over your head or something, he just pogo sticks. I think that's commitment. I think it would be really hard to jump off a 6-foot stage and kill yourself.
Yeah. I mean, well, one of the other conspirators tried and failed and had to go through the whole hanging, drawing, quartering thing with the added embarrassment of making himself look like a bit of an idiot to start with. But yeah, Guy managed it, despite the fact that, I mean, you talk about being broken, that is in reference to the rack. And the rack existed to stretch you until literally every joint in your body popped out of its socket, not to get too graphic. So for him to be put through that, be kind of carried as a flimsy sack of flesh, frankly, to the gallows, and then still be able to chuck himself off and finish the job. I've been quite gruesome here, but it's pretty impressive. That's proper soldiering. Right,
yeah. And then they, and it's just they still hang, draw, and quarter him after he's already dead. But I just feel like it was so disappointing.
Give the crowd what they want.
The crowd's oh, that torturer is just oh, Guy, I guess we'll just do this. It's just not the same.
It takes the fun out of it. You've ruined the whole day.
Good on him, I guess. Even in death, he's disappointing everybody. Take that, you Protestants. Okay, so the plot fails. Guy Fawkes, the ultimate covert operative, he's caught, he's racked, he confesses, he gives up his people, he sings like a canary, he's publicly executed, and he's hatefully remembered 400 years later. So why, this is all a failure. Everything's a failure. Harsher laws get passed against Catholics because they've just tried to kill the king and failed. So there's more repression against Catholics. Everything that he attempted was a spectacular failure. So why is he so interesting and intriguing? And why does he still have why do we still talk about him?
Well, I mean, speaking as a Brit, we love failure. We really like failure. We celebrate failure, but we're also big on Schadenfreude. We enjoy when people fail. We really go in for that kind of thing. It suits our national consciousness of getting a bit too big for your boots. Yep. Know your place, Guy Fawkes. Great soldier, terrible terrorist. You got what was coming to you. But it is also there's that sign of defiance, and Britain has a long-standing tradition of hating our government, but doing very little about it. I feel like
that's crosses borders.
It's fairly universal. But we tend to not do anything about it. The class system is very alive and well in Britain. It's something we don't like to admit, but the class system, that you could transport a Victorian nobleman from 200 years ago into Britain today, and they would still sort of identify the class system. The same public schools still provide the same politicians who still run the country, and nothing ever really changes. And that's the way we like it. We pretend that we don't. We pretend that we're upwardly mobile, but really, change scares us. And I think the fact that someone actually went out of their way to try and make a change, we're equally scared, impressed, and annoyed that they would that they would do that.
That tracks with my understanding of the holiday, because coming at this from over here, I'm like, I don't get it, but I like it.
Do you know what? It's great, and actually, very very quickly it devolved into what anything does in Britain when we're ordered to publicly party. like at 1605, we get drunk, and for the vast majority of the history of Bonfire Night, it has just been an excuse for a large drunken party, but with the added element of danger that comes with enormous fires and ready access to fireworks. Which we have that on the 4th of July usually. Yeah, absolutely. But in America, you're trusted with dangerous and explodey things generally. You can I imagine you can buy fireworks, you can certainly buy firearms and be trusted with them. In Britain, this is the one day a year.
I don't know if we can be trusted with them, but we can buy them. I think I can just go to my next door neighbor and knock on his door. He'll open his trunk up. He's probably got 17 assault rifles in there. I'll just buy one, give him cash.
Yeah.
That's how it is over here.
This is the one day a year when we get to play with the big boy toys, and we really take it to heart. But yeah, awesome. I mean, there's places in the UK where there's a town called Lewes in East Sussex, which I know that sounds like the Shire to most people who are British.
I love the way you name cities and all that stuff, streets, bars, everything. So East Sussex and Lewes are about they're about half an hour, 45 minutes southeast of London, and Lewes is a town which celebrates Bonfire Night like no others. There's something like 50 different bonfire commissions in this town, which usually is a sleepy market town. It's kind of associated with crusty old university professors. And it's got a population of about 17,000. I mean, crusty old university professors, they can go wild when you allow them to be drunk in public and give them access to explosives. You let them go. That gets crazy.
they go big, yeah. But every year, 80,000 people flock to this town for one night every year. Wow. Something like, it's some crazy number, like thousands upon thousands of people are involved in a parade through the streets to the various different sides of town. And people carry, until recently, I think it was recently banned, but I might be wrong, people would carry flaming barrels above their heads for several miles through the town. And a lot of people got badly burned doing this over the years. But we had no intention of clamping down on it because it's the Lewes fireworks. It's a great tradition. And it's a huge part of British culture and tradition. And we love a tradition of mystical origin in the UK. And the fact that it was, a government-mandated celebration of the failure of plot kind of really means nothing because it's a chance for a drink and a party and to meet up with people who you might not see because we're famously unfriendly for most of the rest of the year. Meet up with the neighbours, just burn an effigy of someone you don't like, set some fireworks off and scare a dog, drink 12 cans of European strength lager and have a great time. And that's what being British is all about, Ben.
I'm feeling patriotic for England right now. I'm not British, but I do feel like a little sense of patriotism when I think about that. It's blowing up fireworks, spitfires,
But yeah, I mean, it is our 4th of July, and it's kind of our anti-4th of July because what we're really celebrating is a lack of independence. We're celebrating the fact that everything stayed exactly the way it should be. Nothing changed. On a day that nothing changed in a big way, we celebrate and get drunk and set off fireworks.
Yeah, and we celebrate this one guy who got what was coming to him for trying to be independent, trying to get independence. He wasn't trying for independence. He was just trying to replace the king with a different king. He didn't have any grand ideas of. All
he wanted to do was kill 100 odd people, kidnap a 9-year-old, and marry her off for political gain. Is that so wrong? Well, yes, and that's why.
Yes, turns out it is. Turns out he's kind of a bad dude, but yeah, so that is the really interesting bit, right? The story doesn't end with him having his torso hanging on a fence post. He, maybe it's the craziness of the plot or the fact that he was so defiant in his resistance or so committed to this crazy plot. He isn't just forgotten. This isn't Damnatio Memoria. He's hatefully remembered, government mandated hateful remembrance of this guy, which is so interesting. And, he's executed
for hundreds of years. Hundreds of years.
Yes. There's when Ivan Mazepa is a Ukrainian guy, when he betrayed Peter the Great made it mandated so that Russian Orthodox priests would have to curse Ivan Mazepa's name as part of their liturgy. And then they just stayed forever. That lasted for 300 years. They would just curse this guy's name for betraying Peter the Great in 1600 or something. And so that happens here on the 5th of November of the next year, the anniversary of the plot. the king mandated that we would have like burn Guy Fawkes effigies day to remind people what happens when you try to mess with the system. And that just kind of takes off where, 400 years later, we're still doing this. And at some point it was like, hey, we're with the king. We want to burn these guys. Some other times, and then he's even become kind of like a anti-hero at some point. But a lot of times people are just like, let's drink some beers. Let's make a voodoo doll of my ex-wife, some ancient traitor, and any politicians I currently disagree with. And we'll light them all on fire, get drunk, shoot off fireworks. Let's do it.
Absolutely.
Right. And so this guy is kind of, he might have been, 17th century Timothy McVeigh, but nowadays he's like a walking Rage Against the Machine lyric as far as the public portrayal of him, especially after like V for Vendetta, where he used the Guy Fawkes mask.
Definitely. But he is a bit of a folk hero. And this is where it comes back to this weird thing. Like if you ask a Brit whether Guy Fawkes was a good guy or a bad guy, none of us will have an answer. And partly that's ignorance. We just don't actually know that much about him because the origin, like we know about the gunpowder plot, but we don't know the details of it. It's not something that's really taught to us. But we don't know as a nation whether we should celebrate or condemn this guy. We know that we party because of him, but we don't know whether that's okay.
You follow like in his footsteps a little bit because there is a moment in every Guy Fawkes celebration, I imagine, where somebody's like, hold my beer, I'm going to blow this thing up.
Yeah.
Just like he was. Yeah, that's the thing that I love about him. And I think that's what makes this story badass is not so much that this guy had this plot to murder a bunch of innocent people and kidnap a 9-year-old, but that he kind of creates, it's more the story around him, this weird legacy that he leaves behind. He was a commoner who was upset about religious persecution and tried to assassinate the entire political leadership of his country. But now there's a national holiday after him, and they named an island in the Galapagos after him. So he's like part anti-establishment, part like Interdependence Day. And he's like a Bond villain, basically, who's like still hatefully remembered 400 years after he did this one thing. Yeah,
I mean, and as you said, it brought in new anti-Catholic laws. And I think I mentioned earlier, like it's only in the 1850s, like a good couple of hundred years later, that we as a country started to reintegrate Catholics and the Catholic faith back into British society. I mean, it's still like Northern Ireland, if you want to look into the politics of Northern Ireland.
I've heard it's bad. It's complicated.
Yeah. There's a cluster heck. I was told not to swear on this podcast. That's a cluster heck right there. But yeah, like so it talks about the Lewis fireworks a few minutes ago. It was only in 1950 that the Lewis fireworks commissions were told that they could no longer burn effigies of the Pope, that it was no longer politically correct to symbolically burn the Pope every
PC
year.
gone mad.
Political correctness gone mad, right? So like this guy, the exact opposite of what he aimed for. Hundreds, like one guy has never caused so much damage to his own cause as Guy Fawkes.
Right. Yeah, instead of blowing up Parliament, he blew up his own cause.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just as spectacularly as he was planning on blowing up the House of Lords. Instead of like,
all he wanted to do was to get better standing for Catholics in the country in 1605. And as a result, it wasn't until, and I've got the stat in front of me here, it wasn't until 1829 that Catholics were allowed to go to university in the UK as a direct result of his actions. That is nuts butterfly effect, right?
Yeah, he set his cause back literally like 200 years.
Catholics couldn't vote until 1829 because Guy Fawkes.
Remember that time that one guy was going to blow up the House of Lords? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not even sure badass is the right word for it, but it's such a fun story. I love telling this one. I love the idea behind it. I love that this guy failed so spectacularly. He was so committed. He was so devoted to this, and he failed so spectacularly. And we still hatefully remember him.
The message, audience, is don't try. If you want to change the world, don't.
Right.
Just don't. Just have a cup of tea, tut a bit.
Yeah, settle down, man. Just have a beer, relax.
Do the British thing.
You can't change it. You can't change the system.
You can't change it, and if you do, it'll be awful. So you might as well not bother. And that's the British message from this podcast.
Excellent. I approve. That's our show for today, I think.
Yeah. Bye, everyone. Like and subscribe.
We're going to leave this on an uplifting note. Never try to change anything. Well, Sam, thank you so much for coming on and helping me tell the story, because I don't think I could have done it alone.
It's been a pleasure. I hope I haven't brought too much chaos.
No, we're all about chaos here. That's the
Perfect.
badass way.
Thank you for having me, Ben. It's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And great storytelling.
Thank you. Now, where can we find more of your stuff?
So That Was Genius is a comedy history podcast, much like Badass of the Week. We haven't released an episode in a while. Family commitments have got in the way, but we have a huge back catalogue of like 100 episodes, which you'll find on all the major podcasting platforms, where myself and my co-host Tom, we look at a story. It was every week, and we each bring a topic we bring a story on a theme to the show. So the theme might be vegetables one week, and we'll each go away and we'll find a funny historical story about vegetables and present it to each other. It's sweary. Don't listen to it in front of your kids. People have, and we have Google reviews, 1-star Google reviews that attest that it's not family friendly. Amazing. But yeah, you'll find it on all the podcast platforms that you love, and it's been a real pleasure. It's been a real pleasure to talk history again, Ben.
Yeah, excellent. I was trying to think about like badass vegetables. There was a guy, one of maybe my favorite epithet in all of history is there was a Bulgarian guy who fought against the Turks, and his name was Ivailo the Cabbage. And he was called the Cabbage because he was like a cabbage farmer. But he ended up like becoming the king of Bulgaria, but he's still known as Ivailo the Cabbage.
Beautiful.
Love it. Okay, well, that's all the time we have for today. Sam, thank you so much, and thanks to all of you for listening to this episode. I mean, what should I say? Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys, for listening to this episode. Really appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, etc. You know the drill. And we will see you again next week with another badass. Until then, stay badass. Badass of the Week is produced by High Five Content and $7 Productions. Executive producers are Dwayne Johnson, Danny Garcia, Andrew Jacobs, Hiram Garcia, Brian Gewirtz, Frankie Chaparino, and of course, me, Ben Thompson. Writing is by me and my semi-regular but always awesome co-host, Dr. Patricia Larish. Story editing by Ian Jacobs. Our mixing, music, and sound design is done by the incomparable Jude Brewer. Production support by Jean McGale-Waite. Badass of the Week is based on my website, badassoftheweek.com, where you can read all sorts of stories about other badasses. If you want to reach out with questions or ideas, you can email us at badasspodcast@badassoftheweek.com. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, follow, listen, tell your friends, and tell your enemies. And please leave us a review. If you want to support Badass of the Week, please check out our Patreon page. We'll be back next week with another one.